what the evidence supports. I can tell you 9 times out of 10 that's not happening, and this is often our justification for keeping going. But we also need to figure out, well, how do we make that evidence work in our local setting? Because just taking what the guideline says, you guys have seen those guidelines, they're often really broad and not actually super helpful in terms of operationalizing. How do we do that? Why is that evidence not being used yet? I feel like, for me, the barriers and facilitators, figuring out the why of those gaps are the most helpful part of the whole process, because I need to know why we have the gap before I can figure out how to design an intervention. Because if I can address those barriers, then I'm going to be able to have some impact. And so when I first sort of started this, I thought, oh, I'm going to, I have a nice 3-year postdoc, and I'm going to figure out how to get physiotherapists to better measure balance, because that's really important for preventing falls in older adults. And I have a 3-year project, and I have this lovely framework, and I'm going to get all around the circle in the 3 years, and everything will be great. Well, it took me, my postdoc was 2010, and then I started this job, so I'm 7 years into it, and I'm only just now getting towards the end of the pathway for my first sort of problem. So maybe I've got the pathway down from 17 to 6 or 7, but to do these things super rigorously, you do have to sort of take the time with that. Yes?
I understand it from your research trying to push
yes.
knowledge kind of one way, but I kind of have a hard time being an end user, saying I'm a clinician and seeing the whole of the pathway, because yes. when I'm making a clinical decision or prescribing a medication in the hospital, I don't always know that we're evaluating the outcomes or we're monitoring my knowledge use. I'm making that decision off and on, knowledge tools and products, or systematic review, or there are times where you just make decisions based on, oh, I did read that in a CPS statement, for example. No one talked to me. We're not measuring
yes.
my practice. And does it always have to have this full circle, or?
I've never had that question before, actually. So yes, I would say they would say this theory is built off of a whole bunch of other planned action theories where you're intentionally trying to make a change. So it's typically for someone who says I want to get this to happen. But that's a great point, that I don't know how the model would apply to someone sort of pulling. I think it could be sort of pulling. I think the pull could be from the problem stage. So as a clinician, I have this problem, I'm looking for an answer. You might sort of be pulled sort of back up to then sort of move it around. But I think, again, that, and that's part of the sort of issue that we have, right? No, we don't have a model for how do clinicians engage researchers? How do clinicians engage the whole machine to help inform their decision making? We don't have a good sort of process for that. It's all sort of on the push phase. It's less on the pull side. And so when I talk to OT students before, and I've sort of said that to them of so you guys are going to be at a really interesting point. So you're at the front lines, you're going to be looking for information. If you can't find an answer, find a researcher who can help you ask that. Don't be afraid, because there are interested researchers. I'm always looking to partner with clinicians. If you have an issue and you're not sure how to come up with that answer, this is where the relationship piece is. We still have sort of a long way to go in terms of coming together. And so often I'll go out and talk to clinicians, and we don't always have a project right away. That actually is not really a great partnership if I just say oh, I have this project, and do you want to collect the data here and be a site for me? That's not really a real partnership. Sometimes what I do is I sort of go out and I will say to them here, I go to meet with physios, and I'm interested in falls, and are you interested in falls, and are you interested in balance? So what would be your issue? Would you want to do something together? That's and again, what's the science behind that? There's not much science for that yet. The relationship building is sort of tricky. So I would say if you feel those things, don't I know you're gonna be busy. You guys will be very busy. But, you know, if it's something that's like nagging you, like there will be people out there sort of looking to partner and don't kind of give up on that kind of thing. So of course, this happens to me all the time. I talk too much and then I don't get to like half of what I want to say. I'll finish up by giving you a couple of sort of resources, and these will be in the slides that we'll hand out. So again, if this is something that is of interest to you, how you could incorporate this into a research program. So my colleague and I published on how we did this in physical therapy research a couple of years ago, and it talks about how all of our individual studies have sort of gone around the cycle. So you could sort of see from the get-go, oh, here's this sort of master plan. And when you look at my individual studies, they don't actually mention knowledge translation at all. They're all about balance and measurement practices and physiotherapists. It's only when you back up that you sort of see this sort of master plan of where it's all going. And so this paper talks about that nicely. Please don't feel lost. We'll get there together. If you're interested in this kind of stuff, if you wanted to read more, these are my sort of two. So the first paper I gave you, that is my kind of like number one. If you're only going to read one paper, do that. If you want more information, more detail, this is a textbook written by Canadians. I call it the Bible of knowledge translation in healthcare. And so this gives a real sort of good overview of the field and where it's at. So I think we have this textbook online now that you could also check out. If you're looking for something in between, the KT platform here at CHI, at the support unit, we're very active on Twitter. So if you follow CHI, we have a group, our group is called Knowledge Nudge on Twitter. And we write a blog every week or so where we write very sort of reader-friendly, not academic posts that talk about issues in KT. So sometimes we'll review a very important article in KT and talk about why it's important, and then say like, here's the link if you want the academic reference or not. Or we talk about issues, what needs to be studied, why it doesn't. And so we're growing quite a good following of several hundred people now, and so it seems to be kind of filling that kind of niche for people who want to know more and don't know sort of where to get started. So if you're active on social media, those you might be interested in that as well. So Knowledge Nudge. Again, I'm part of CHI, and we have a fairly good website that you can find by searching Center for Healthcare Innovation in Manitoba. Again, my name is Kate Sibley, and you can also find me at U of M. I'm on Twitter. I'm not like super good on Twitter, but I'm trying. If this is something you ever want to know more about, you know, have an idea, want to talk about where to get started, feel free to give me a call anytime. I get very excited about these topics and issues. And any last questions for me before I wrap up? Good luck on your journeys. Hope to see you all again.